I think actually those referral tie-ins can be financially beneficial. So that's something to think about.
Yes, another reason why I thought about right now I'm having it randomized between folks. If people want to, if someone then wants to ask us to get rid of our randomization, I think we would be open to that. But yeah, that had occurred to me as well. That's actually also part of what the Gabe is talking to the GC about, how we could monetize stuff without being for profit. Can't jeopardize the for profit nature of law school. So the GC handles all that. Anyhow, welcome everybody. Happy Friday. Have people had fun to play, had time to play in the snow and have fun? I know. I just got to.
3
Yeah, I
feet
imagine
of
you
snow.
have.
John's still out there working on it.
Yeah, I imagine that. Yeah, I was thinking you would have the most.
How much did you get?
3 feet. It's up to my hips.
Oh my gosh.
It's over the height of the snowblower, so it's slow going. But the sun's out, so you know that's great.
Oh,
we haven't had
also
the sun
different where you are.
Long, it's ridiculous, so that's good.
We don't have any sun out here. Anyhow,
you don't have sun?
No, it's gray. Let's we can. I got distracted because it's Friday. Why don't we run through stand up and then we can discuss fun snow things in casual Friday. So, Kate, I see you've just gotten all comfortable there. What do you have to report?
Nothing really. I'm just looking at my phone.
Okay, well that was very easy. Lily, you're up next.
I don't have anything either.
this is the like right before holiday Friday check-in. Michelle.
Well, I have a Lily thing, which she's been reorganizing the some of the core repository stuff and assembly line wizard stuff. So there, and she's doing an amazing job at it. Sorry, Lily, I didn't mean to out you if you didn't want to, but I think that's amazing work. And you also made some awesome visuals for the architecture.
Awesome, Michelle. Awesome what?
Visuals for the architecture.
Oh, visuals.
So I am helping with the architecture where I can. I made some repositories, maybe too many. I don't know. Other people can decide. I'm working on testing stuff, creating state-based tests. Language agnostic tests should work since we have a set instead of just a tap. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. Step. Anyway, but I can't hear you, David. You're muted.
That's not true. I think
Okay.
I think there are probably at least half the people on this. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's very specific to like Cucumber and Puppeteer. So, but the state-based tests are coming along well. I'm trying to figure out how to give developers feedback on what goes wrong, because when you just present the whole list of variables that way, it's a bit hard to kind of detect where the problem has happened, if a problem has happened. And right now that's I think the main whole thing holding me back there. So if people have thoughts about that, I'd love to hear them. Or give context if you're interested in context. And Aubrey's project looked amazing when I last saw it, which was awesome.
Cool. Yeah, she turned it in yesterday, so I got a chance to look at it.
She was like, David said, all I need is a list of docket numbers. And I'm like, but you have that. You have that. And then she was like, I know. I was like, okay, well, let's keep going then.
Well, now I look forward to, well, I was always looking forward to it.
Oh, you haven't seen yet.
No.
Yeah, run it. It's got a bit more than a list of docket numbers. I should.
Oh, now I'm very excited.
Damn it.
A surprise.
I mean,
guess it was
dang
surprise.
it.
Oh,
Um,
Aubrey was on a podcast. I hadn't shared it out yet because I just finished listening to it, talking about the design challenge stuff.
Share it
So I
out.
will definitely drop that in the Friday channel once we get there. Just remind me.
Awesome. We should have a podcast for this project.
Oh,
I
I'm
don't know
sure
who's
someone would
gonna
want to
run
talk to us. Well, she was featured on the like Geek of the Week blog.
Oh no, I
blog.
meant we should make a podcast.
I know that's what you meant. I'm just saying, like, she was
Okay.
featured on it, but we could probably find someone who would want to talk to us.
You should put Aubrey's podcast on
Yes, that's what
Assembly
I.
Line channel.
Oh yeah, I
more
should put it on
than
the full channel. That's
Casual
true. It
Friday.
is very.
Yeah. That's
Of
right.
course, I mean, we're moving soon, right? So
Yes.
we'll have to post it 2 places, but
Oh, Makala finished her review,
Oh, cool.
which is cool. There were lots of good notes, observing her using the interview and, some feedback and such. I'd like to know there's some actionable items I can take there. There's some issues I might make on one or other the repositories. Like, what would be her next step? Like, is there another interview that she can review? Do we want to have a conversation with her? Like, I really don't want to leave her hanging too long, and it's
Yeah, I
about
guess
to
the
be
question is-
Christmas break. So
So what is she? I mean, I'm very curious what she thinks if she's now had enough interface with things to have an idea of what she thinks might be fun for her next, right?
okay. Okay.
Um,
She doesn't have a good connection, so text is the only way we've been able to communicate so far.
Right, but to the extent that she has now a sense for the project in different parts and something that she would like to explore next, I would be happy for her to do that driving. To the extent that she doesn't have any sense of what that is, then we can try to think of something. But if she's like, oh, I want to do more of this, then trying to find another forum. She's like, oh, I
Okay.
liked doing this part. Could I maybe, now I understand something about this, maybe I'd like to try my hand at making something, or maybe I'd like to, I don't know.
All right. I will have that conversation with her. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it for me.
Caroline was next, but I'll let you pass if you want to keep eating. Nope, looks like, there we go.
I don't have much. It's just Maeve and I met with Mike Cronin on the petition to enforce a sanitary code. And there was a lot of editing. Maeve did a lot of editing, and I wanted to wait till she finished before I did mine because it just gets so I didn't want to say what she said type of thing, right? So she did a lot, and then I crammed it all in on Tuesday morning, I think it was, because Mike said I think he had his last final Monday. I think that's right. So I tried to get it in Tuesday because I was out most of Tuesday. And he took on board so much of what I put in because I feel like I put a lot of work into it, and he did a whole lot. And so
Great.
maybe I met with him at 10 o'clock Wednesday morning, and I was really impressed. I mean, I think we only had half an hour and we whizzed through it really quickly. So there's probably more to do, but he wanted to get it to at least to a point where he could hand it in. I guess yesterday to you.
Yesterday, yeah.
I have to say, he kind of blew me away with how much he got done. And I didn't give him a whole lot of, there was one thing that Maeve couldn't figure. We were on the same page. Maeve didn't know how to do. So I sent that to him, but on the whole, I was like, yuck, fix this. That's about the extent of it. And he did do a really good job, and he really was thinking through it and everything. So
That's really good feedback to hear.
Pardon?
That's really good feedback to hear. I should also say that if anyone else has feedback that when working with students, that I especially if they're my students, I'd love to know it because I would take that into account.
Yeah,
You can put
definitely.
the same thing.
He's learned a lot, and it was like, I think a lot of times people just want to get the interview working. They just want to get it in the order, and so lots of times they just take the language from the forms, which is on this form is impossible. But
And a valid first pass.
yeah, exactly. And they don't do anything with plain language at all, And so this one was kind of a nightmare. And he took on my comments and fixed them. And the other thing he did, which which is growth. I mean, some like Adriana goes and looks at the law and looks everything up and everything. Not everybody does that, but he did. So when I asked him questions and stuff, he actually had an answer for me, and he knew the legal answer. He'd gone and looked it up and stuff. So he's come a long way. I mean, I know this is his third interview, but he's really come up. He did a great job on this one.
That is
So
really great feedback to hear.
That's my feedback. Rochelle's been on vacation, so I haven't had any communication with her yet, but I will. It's on my list.
Cool. All right, Quentin, up next. Muted. We still can't hear you, Quentin.
I feel really good about all the work that Lily, Michelle, and Bryce and we all did this week to reorganize some of the packages. So some big changes coming there. It's a good chance for us to sit back and reflect on things that worked and didn't work about structure, including things like variable names. So if you have thoughts on some of the variable names that we've been using, one we're kind of stuck on is user. So maybe we can even take a minute to talk about that today, if there's time. And I am very stuck on figuring out why this error in the appeals court, our latest form, is only happening on our production server and not our dev server. This is very frustrating to me right now. So that's what I've been spending a lot.
Super frustrating. Does it only, I realize I misread the email before and it happened when he did an attachment. Does it only happen with the attachment and only his attachment, or?
It's not only his attachment. I actually haven't tested to see if it happens when there's no attachment, but I should check.
At what point does it happen? Because I ran through on production without an attachment and I got all the way to the download screen. And then that's where I stopped because I didn't want to go on forward.
Oh, it happens at the end. So like when you add your signature.
Okay.
But
I was able to do a signature without an attachment then.
Those are exactly the same. So I really don't know why.
That does bring up the question of how do we want to handle running tests on production server type of thing? Because, I mean, once the tests get to that point, well, I mean, yeah, but
the other thing it raises is like, this reorganization work, but the more we split things into different packages, the more chances of different combinations of things that we can have.
Yeah.
All right, well, that feels like the file under the like, like, okay, well, yeah, it's under that file.
On that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But maybe we can get back to
it. Might be the fact that it is a production server that's different. It's like debug is turned off. That's where I am right now. It seems unlikely given the specific error, but.
Well, maybe we'll get back to the user variable name question in a minute, because we might have time. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Bryce?
Yeah, so I spent a lot this week going through the actual like making a form process. I've been doing it with the civil docketing form for the appeals court, which from what I understand is just like a cover sheet that goes on just pretty much anything civil that's being appealed. And it's good so far. It was just one of those processes that took longer than I thought. I expected to spend like maybe like Friday last week and then like Monday, Tuesday this week, but sort of kept iterating on it till like yesterday. And so, yeah. And so like that's in and good. I need to sort of organize a like quick meeting with someone to review it. I don't know if like who that should be, but maybe just someone else who's maybe a bit more familiar with things than I am. And then I think after that it's a subject matter expert review, which I don't know who would be a good point person for that. I don't know if we do those, like try and find them externally to like our group or something. I know Caroline's talked a few times about getting in contact with people.
Sometimes we do, but does anyone have any experience with the civil documenting cover sheet for appeals?
Done it like twice, but
it's most expert here then.
yeah.
Who would be the kind of person Who would do that, Kate?
I mean, someone who does a lot of appeals.
Yeah, just any sort of appeals.
Would that be
Yeah.
would that be GBLS or MLRI? It wouldn't be.
The
I
other
mean, I don't
thing
know.
is,
Like at GBLS, I don't know if there's going to be like one person who does a lot. I think it's going to be a lot of people who have done a couple,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
me.
the other thing, this
They're not
is, you
bad,
know, we,
yeah.
It's Pauline and maybe Dick.
Yeah.
But, well,
Oh,
Dick's
Pauline.
leading this like cross legal aid thing for appeals. I've been trying to get him to help out on this stuff.
Who's
but-
that, Quentin?
Dick Bauer.
Oh yeah.
So he's
Oh,
doing
Paul-
the stuff across the state.
What about
So it-
Amy Anthony? Did you ever talk to her, Quentin, the one from VLP?
Yeah, no, I know Amy too. So I mean, Dick is part of that. They're working together on that. But you're right.
so
I just don't know Amy as well.
it's also worth remembering that since appeals have been working so closely with us, they're very happy to
Maybe
review
can be
things as
with
well.
Amy.
And that's a
Um,
major difference with the appeals court is they are just immensely helpful. The one thing that's great about the appeals court is they are immensely helpful.
and
Not
this is
comparing
also
that to other courts.
this is also a straight form as opposed to like motion. So it's really
No,
just sort of
yeah,
like,
no strategies. You don't need a strategy for it, right?
yeah, it's just sort of you tick the boxes and fill it out. So
Yeah, it's a
Um,
pretty straightforward form, I think.
Yeah,
what we
it was not doesn't too complicated.
so we could probably get away with doing an internal review just to make sure it does what you expect it to do, then giving it to appeals to make sure that it does what an SME would expect it to do, and without having to engage someone else's extra time. Although, unless we think that's an important like relationship building thing, I don't want to like lose chances to get people involved in the project if we think that would be useful. But I think we can probably get away with just making sure it does what it on its face looks to us like it should do, and then appeals can weigh in on the subject.
Cool.
All right, cool.
Cool.
Then anything else?
No, just that before we like wrap up for holidays next week, I want to try and have a like fully functioning like information or like interview statistics package that's doing some sort of like privacy stuff, and then wrap up that the mass appeals form. So
Cool.
that's it.
All right, and Maeve.
Hi, Caroline. The reason I jumped on here is because Caroline and I reviewed Mike's sanitation form, and there was something that we mentioned. Caroline, do you remember?
Keep going. Something that we mentioned.
That we
We
said we
mentioned a lot of
must
stuff.
bring this up. We must
What,
bring
oh,
this up.
we
in
need to bring
management.
up to the group?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
And like I was like, I must write this down, otherwise I'm gonna forget. And then
I don't remember
here we
what that
are.
is or
Here
what.
we are.
I was raving about what a good job he did. Oh, you know what it was? Some of it was maybe some of the basic questions. Do you think it was that?
It could have been that. It could have been that. It was just something that we said this is something worth flagging, and of course that session wasn't recorded, so here we are. I know
Is
I'm
it
being
that there
very
were basic
helpful.
questions used when they should have been customized, or customized versions of basic questions?
It might
But-
be that maybe we might think about doing some of the basic questions a little differently. We'd have to go back and look at the basic questions he uses in his interview. I'm guessing that's what it was, because it's difficult to know when you look. I mean, the only way to figure out if basic questions need to be tweaked in any way is to look at them in a number of interviews and to see. And we talked about this a little bit, I think, on Tuesday. And I don't remember anything, and I don't even remember remembering this, when Maeve said this. So I don't even think I took a note. So we could ask Mike if he remembers. But I'm guessing that it would be a basic question. That's the only thing, because I know there were a few basic questions we came up with, and some of them we didn't even need. And some of them we may have thought that maybe we could adapt it a little bit and it would be applicable for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think we might have to go back and look at those basic questions to see what that's the only thing I can think, Maeve, that it could have been.
That was it as well.
Yeah.
Good time. Since we're forking to a new repository, we're going to keep MA Virtual Court installed for old interviews, but we're going to make a new one called Assembly Line. and it is going to have a new version of basic questions. So this is a good time to think about changes. Like it's going to be like a fresh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So then, Caroline, maybe what I'll do is I'll just have a look. I think Mike's got the sanitary code linked in the testing channel, because he was looking for testers for that. So, Caroline, I'll just have a quick look at that and see if any of those pop up as things that jog my memory, and I'll also just reach out to him as well and see if he recalls.
The thing I'm wondering is also when you remember this thing about filing date versus, but I think we resolved that. It was the filing date versus the signature date.
Yeah.
But I think by the time we got to the end of the conversation, we don't need to use the filing date from basic questions.
Yeah. So the thing is that came up on our civil action cover sheet as well, because there was 2 different spots, one for the filing date and one for the signature date, something to that effect. And I think in Mike's form, he identified the block as filing date, but in fact, it was a date that you would just put in when you signed. So it wasn't pulling through, it was pulling through, he created another question for it as opposed to pulling through the signature question or linking to the signature question. So it's just it's a pre-processing part, right, Caroline? Mm-hmm. To be aware of what the dates actually are, and that's something just to bear in mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you probably thought of this already at this point, but recording the session is a great way to remember.
We didn't. That's
right.
Absolutely right, Michelle.
You know I'm the queen of recording, Michelle. Everything is recorded.
She really is. She really is.
I'm like archival. I don't know why.
Yes, Maeve is the queen of recording. No worries. I
think
just
the official archivist, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
For our documentary, it's going to be a good documentary.
Title.
We definitely do need it. Like projects do need like archivists and historians.
They do need historians.
Or
I
librarians.
think those of us with
someone to help with the knowledge management.
Short-term memories should need these things even more. But yeah, I thought you're absolutely right, Michelle. I mean, I wonder if we should even make it be part of a checklist when you do your review. Make sure you turn recording on.
A checklist for the beginning of a review.
Yeah.
That you do as you start the review. That's not a bad idea. I mean, I've forgotten it too. I just, in case that, hadn't crossed the radar yet.
Totally, everything is.
And I mean, record oftentimes when we're reviewing too, we ask the student if they want to review, if they want to record. So I think let's just, because things do come up like this.
The only thing is we do have to be careful about
2-party consent.
Yes, two-party consent is important. But
it's a different kind of ask. You know what I mean?
But
it's
I think we might also want to make a clear delineation as to certain things might just stay internal, as opposed to. I mean, I know we tend to work everything in the open, but reviews are sort of
personal.
Gotcha. I've often just kept them as I said, for like posterity, like not for record purposes, especially if I don't want to rely on my notes. It's often helpful to, and then also to see like movements on a screen. It's hard to annotate, like you can't write that down really. Yeah. So David, I think that is an important distinction to make. There's certain recordings that are meant for public consumption, and then there's other recordings that are just for internal. I think this came up earlier, where you always run the risk of that becoming public at some point. So you've kind of got to be careful what you're saying. But at the same time, it's not the intended audience is not a public audience.
Yeah. So okay, so I totally get your point, but we could. I
don't think that stops us from recording.
Yeah, it's just we're going to record this for everybody's benefit, but you're not going to. It's not like your ranking is being posted on the cafeteria wall type of thing.
Law students love that, Caroline. That's just like catnip for law students.
It's also, important for, I think, for people's free expression of like what they see as issues, just because people can either feel more free or less free if they are conscious.
Yeah.
I'm so used to everything being recorded now that I don't even. I think one of the comments was when I joined my I've been on 6 months of Zoom meetings. I was so confident coming into the stand-up at a new firm, and everyone's like, so like, what? I was so shy when I joined, and I'm there running stand-up on Fridays. Like, anyone else have any other questions? So it is, I mean, I guess it's just the thing of this year that people have become kind of more used to being recorded, and maybe their expression isn't as
And Maeve,
hampered.
just so I don't forget while it's on my mind, we're having some consultants regarding to our funders who are doing some evaluations of the project, and I think I'd like to have them talk with you as having been one of the triad during our structure time, because I think you could offer some good insight into things.
Yeah, of course, I'm
it shouldn't
happy
be
to do
more than
that.
30 minutes of your time at some point, but I just wanted to remind myself that
Put some time in my diary. It's my new go-to phrase. No, we use Calendly at the office,
I
and
like that.
it's so useful as opposed to emailing back and forth with like.
Oh yeah.
So my windows are, and then you inevitably put it in their time zone, and then they'll inevitably just send you an invite. That's completely something other time that you didn't put. So, but yeah, just let me know what time would suit, and I'm
I
happy to
haven't
jump on
gotten they're supposed to send me a request for names and stuff. They haven't gotten to that point yet, but I know that you're someone I want them to talk to.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's 1 o'clock now, so I guess we don't have time to talk about variable names unless people want that to be the start of Casual Friday. I will leave that up to people to decide. I'm going to stop recording though, unless anyone has any other official business that we really, really need to get to. All right then.